resolution, because it's not only enough to have special session on Syria. It's the most important thing about the resolution. And from the day I arrived in Geneva 3 days before, it was actually for the most important thing for the Syrian government not to have international inquiry about the killings, because their idea is that we can kill as much as we can and then we can to back as a normal, and nobody care about that, as they did in Hama and in different parts of on Syria in different years. We insist to have should be international inquiry about that, and then we got the resolution by 26 countries. They agreed to have international inquiry and none of the Arabic countries voted yes. But it was significant to have the most largest Arabic countries, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Bahrain, and Qatar, who is a member in the Human Rights Council. They voted with absent. This gave a message to the Syrian regime that it's much more isolated regime right now at the Human Rights Council. This international inquiry actually established last Friday after the improvement of a lot of bureaucratic work at the UN level. And this international inquiry will request to have access to Syria, to go to Syria to investigate all human rights abuses, not only the killings. That's included, of course, the torture, the political prisoners, included all, of course, preventing the human assistant or the medical assistant for the people who are in need. And this is, of course, this international inquiry has to come up with a report. We are 100% that will come to include that what's happened in Syria, crimes against humanity. And this is crimes against humanity should be hold the Syrian regime accountable on that. But unfortunately, even that we succeed in that the killings continue in Syria, and this will not stop the Syrian regime on doing the killings. In last Friday, more than 44 have been killed in Syria, and yesterday 16 have been killed in Homs in the and this is why our next step, this is the third part, to work with the UN Security Council. The Security Council is a political body, but it's important for us to have a resolution from the Security Council contain the resolution 3 things. The first one, condemning the violence against the protesters in Syria. This is actually delegitimize the Syrian part of the story. They saying that this is armed gangs. We need to have, this is a peaceful protest, and should be included in all our interviews, in all our UN resolutions. The second thing, to put the sanctions on Bashar al-Assad and all other security officers who gave the orders to open the fire on the protesters. And we have the list of 68 officers and from security who gave the orders in different cities in Syria, like an example, actually, who did the military operation in Daraa, who gave the orders to kill the people in Homs, especially the military intelligence or the air security intelligence in Al-Mu'addamiyya, Daraya, and Douma, send the snipers, more than 600 snipers in Daraa right now, and all proof of the governmental buildings. This is why nobody show up. And the third thing, actually referring Bashar al-Assad and the Syrian case to the International Criminal Court. La samahallah, if the Syrian uprising failed, la samahallah, this is an option. If we reach the International Criminal Court, this is non-return for the Syrian regime. Because if the international, and next week should I go to Lahai to meet with the prosecutor, Ban Ki-moon. He's aware about what's going on in Syria. Ocampo, sorry. Ocampo, he's from Argentina, and he's made a significant work in Argentina during the military government there. And now this very disappointing to see that al-Bashir and al-Qaddafi and Bashar al-Assad wielded by criminals. And this is our region, unfortunately. To see all of them on the list of the ICC, this is very disappointing, and this is give you it's not good image for our region in other parts of the world. But this is the reality right now, and we have to continue fight to have better future for our region and for our country. And this is because this is, if we reach this level, this is the non-return point for the Syrian regime. Because actually this is delegitimize the Syrian regime. And no way that Hisham Bakhtiar, he said in Dar'a that Dar'a ليست أغلى من حما. Dar'a is not much more important for us than Hama. It's they repeating the same thing as they did in the 80s. We're trying to say that now we are in different world. You cannot continue that, you cannot succeed right now for four things. That now the uprising spread to all other cities. As I said, 84 cities and towns, they have demonstrations. It's not like in the 80s when you have actually the strike was only in Hama and some parts in Aleppo. But right now, 84 cities in all over the country, across the country. The second thing that this is the most important thing, that this is non-violent struggle. And this is the most important thing. This is will get more empathy inside the Syrian people and from the international community. And when even that's the number of the casualties and the number of the civilians will be much higher, but this is much better for us because we don't know to go in the civil war road. We don't know. We don't need, and we have to be very, very insist about this idea. Even that the number will reach 2,000, and this is it's very visible by continue of the killing machines in Syria. The fourth, that now we are different in different war. The role of the international community now, they respond in less than 2 weeks about the killings in Syria. Look to what's happened. When Obama came into office, he started to engage with the Syrian regime, sending ambassadors, sending George Mitchell. He met with Bashar al-Assad 3 times. But now the US putting sanctions on Bashar al-Assad himself, freezing assets, and tomorrow on Monday, the 27 European countries will impose sanctions on Bashar al-Assad and others.
Yes.
This has never happened in the 80s. And the fourth thing, also the role of the social media. The only way for the people actually to send for us the YouTubes and the Facebook, and this is why it's really important. And this is why we have to send as much as we can the equipment to help the people. Actually, there is the State Department, they issue statements, and you say that the Wall Street Journal article about how the Iranian assist the Syrians. I don't think that there is a besiege or something like that, because actually the Syrian regime, it doesn't need. He has actually the people, they can fight at the end. But they depend on the Iranian and the assistant in how they cut the communication and give them some equipment. And this is why it's important to keep the internet in Syria, because this is the only way to send the information, to send the videos, the YouTubes, to what's going on the world. I will end it by, because I need to hear your questions, by 2 things. And as we said in Arabic, يعني الأمل يولد من الألم. It's the same letters to the different words. But we know that freedom is not free, and we have to fight for it. We don't have other options. Now, right now, we with all of the military prisons, cut communication, collective punishment for cities like Dar'a, Douma, Mu'addamiyya, and Tel Kalakh, and Hamas. Even that the people in last Friday they show up, and they protest in large numbers, and especially in the Kurdish areas. We named the last Friday as Azadi, which means in the Kurdish freedom. This is mobilize the Kurdish community